Question number 3, Gillian Mackay.
To ask the First Minister what the Scottish Government's response is to the current 40 Days for Life protests.
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government believes that patients and staff should be able to access abortion services free from intimidation, free from harassment and free from undue influence. That's why we've committed to fully supporting the Abortion Services Safe Access Zone Scotland Bill that Gillian Mackay has introduced to the Parliament. As Gillian Mackay will be more acutely aware than anyone, the bill is currently being scrutinised by the Health, Social Care and Sport Committee, and I extend my thanks to Gillian Mackay for introducing the bill and to all the witnesses who have provided evidence to the committee thus far. So we'll continue to support the bill as it makes its way through the parliamentary process, and I'm hopeful its protection will soon be felt by women right across Scotland.
Gillian Mackay.
I thank the First Minister for that answer. Around the world in recent years, we've seen reproductive rights go backwards in countries such as the US, Poland and Brazil. But there are glimmers of hope, with rights expanding in Argentina and Colombia, and the rights in abortion being enshrined in the Constitution in France. Does the First Minister agree with me that safe access zones must be the first stop on advancing rights here in Scotland? And does he believe that we should go further, including providing abortion in Scotland up to the legal limit, ensuring equitable access to IVF and removing abortion from criminal law?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, first and foremost, I want to be clear that provisions and regulations of NHS abortion services within specifying term limits should absolutely be a clinical matter and not a criminal one. And I'm happy to look at that issue in further details. I know there are nuances and complexities in looking into that issue, opening up that issue, which again I'm happy to discuss with the member in due course. There have, of course, been improvements in the provision of later stage abortions within Scotland, with all mainland boards now providing abortion to at least 20 weeks gestation. But Gillian Mackay is right to push the government and health boards to see what can be done even further in terms of later term abortions. And I'm happy to ensure that Health Secretary writes to her with further details of the actions that we are taking alongside health boards in this regard. Once the bill has made its way through Parliament, Gillian Mackay's bill, we will begin a review of abortion law, which will focus on identifying potential proposals for reform.
John Mason.
Thank you. Would the First Minister not accept that no one is being harassed at these vigils or protests? No one is being intimidated. It is largely a small group of elderly religious people standing at these facilities. And does he not think that we are slightly overreacting with legislation on this?
First Minister.
Look, I wouldn't agree with John Mason on that, I'm afraid. I think what's so important in this matter, particularly I have to say for men, is to listen to the voices of women. And women tell us and have given very powerful evidence and testimony that whatever John Mason's view may be, that they feel that harm is being done. They do feel harassed. They do feel intimidation. Now, even if John Mason was to, for whatever reason, discard that evidence, and I would encourage him not to, he should also listen to the clinicians at the services, the likes of Dr Gregor Irwin and many others, who have spoken very powerfully about the impact it's also having on staff. Now, John Mason knows that I'm a religious person myself. I pray. But where you choose to pray, you can pray anywhere in the world for whatever you want. Why you have to go to an abortion service where women feel then harassed and intimidated, I have to say I do not understand. And therefore I believe that legislation that Gillian Mackay is bringing forward is one that should have the support of this whole Parliament. We will certainly be supporting it from the Scottish Government. And I would say once again to John Mason, it's so crucial that as opposed to men perhaps imposing their view on what the impacts or effects on protests are to women, that John Mason would do well to listen to the voices of women and clinicians and staff at abortion services.
Carol Mockin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. These protesters are intimidating for women at what is undoubtedly a challenging moment in their lives. Given the waiting list pressures across the NHS, can I confirm if he has had direct discussions with health boards to ensure women can continue to access abortion services in a safe but, of course, a timely manner to avoid adding further anxiety to what is already a challenging time in their lives?
First Minister.
Carol Mockin is absolutely right to raise this issue, and we don't want anybody waiting longer than they have to for accessing healthcare. Particularly, we know over a range of issues that affect women in particular. The wait is far too long. In relation to the discussions that have been had between the Government and health boards on a range of issues affecting abortion, access to abortion services, and perhaps some of the issues that were raised by Gillian Mackay, which Carol Mockin might have an interest in terms of later term abortion. I'm more than happy for the Health Secretary to write a detailed note to Carol Mockin, but she's absolutely right to raise the issues that she does, because nobody, and particularly women accessing health services, shouldn't have to wait a minute longer than I'm afraid they currently do.